The world doesn't have to destroy you. Your own mouth already is. Some phrases don't need an audience to cause damage. Every time you say them, something inside you quietly breaks. You don't need enemies. You just need to keep repeating. That's just how I am. It's not my fault. It is what it is. They sound harmless, but these words are dull knives slowly carving away your strength, your clarity, your soul. Stoicism warns us, your words reflect your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your life. Speak like a defeated man, and you'll soon start living like one. 1. That's just how I am, the coward's way of sounding strong. It sounds like a declaration of identity, a bold stand. But in truth, it's not strength. It's surrender disguised as confidence, sealed with pride. You weren't born just like that. You simply chose to stop evolving because change is uncomfortable, growth is painful. So you protect your current self like it's a sacred relic instead of a draft that needs revision. Take Carl, a 70-year-old retired Navy officer, a man of structure, sharp dresser, calm presence. To the outside world, Carl was dependable, a man's man. But at home, he was emotionally absent. Every time his wife asked for connection, for vulnerability, for something real, Carl shut down. He'd look at her and say, "That's just not who I am." No yelling, no fighting, just silence. Over the years, their marriage withered not from betrayal, but from neglect. Not from storms, but from dust collecting in a house no one tended to. Eventually she left, not with a bang, but a quiet decision. She stopped waiting for a man who refused to grow. That's the true danger of this phrase. It sounds like self-awareness, but it's a coffin lined with ego. It's not a boundary, it's a tombstone. Marcus Aurelius never said, "This is just who I am." Instead, he reminded himself daily, "Each day offers me the chance to live like the man I admire." That's the Stoic path, not to cling to identity, but to shape it. To challenge yourself, to upgrade, refine, strip away the false layers, and reforge what remains. A Stoic man doesn't protect his ego, he sharpens his character. Ask yourself honestly, am I becoming wiser than I was yesterday? Am I expanding, or just repeating the same day under a different date? Because if the answer is no, you're not living, you're decaying in place. Let's be clear. Saying, "That's just how I am," is not acceptance. It's resignation. It's quitting the work of becoming. And deep down, you know this. Because every time you use that phrase, you feel something slip. Not from your mind, but from your spirit. Another chance lost, another door closed, another moment you could have grown but didn't. The Stoic doesn't confuse stability with virtue. He knows real strength isn't staying the same, it's improving anyway. 2. Real men don't talk about feelings, the lie that kills you slowly. They told you that silence is strength, that emotions make you soft, that a real man keeps it all in. And so, generation after generation of men swallowed pain like poison quietly, invisibly, until it hollowed them out from the inside. This belief doesn't make you strong. It makes you a prisoner chained by fear, hidden behind a mask of composure that eventually cracks when no one's looking. I once knew a man named Mark, late 52nd, owned a successful business, provided for his family. But inside, he was a storm no one could see. When his wife cried over the growing distance, he'd mutter, "I'm not the emotional type." When his teenage son broke down under pressure, Mark handed him a tissue and said, "Toughen up, life won't wait for your feelings." What Mark didn't realize was that he wasn't passing down resilience, he was passing down emotional illiteracy. Years later, after a heart attack left him in the ICU, Mark admitted to his brother, I've been angry and alone for most of my life, and I didn't even notice. That's the tragedy. Men who don't speak about what's inside aren't tough, they're ticking. Their silence isn't power, it's pressure building behind a dam. Stoicism is often misunderstood here. People hear master your emotions and twist it into bury your emotions. But that's not what Marcus Aurelius did. That's not what Epictetus taught. Marcus wrote openly in his meditations about grief, anger, fear, and sadness. He didn't broadcast his feelings for sympathy, he dissected them to prevent them from ruling him. That's real strength, to look your inner storms in the eye and still choose calm. A Stoic doesn't suppress emotion, he studies it. He names it. He understands that feelings are data, not commands. Because if you can't put your pain into words, it will find another way out. In rage, in numbness, in addictions, in distance from the people who love you most. And let's be honest, what's more courageous, admitting that something hurts or pretending nothing does while it quietly consumes you? Your silence doesn't protect you. It isolates you. It teaches your sons to wear the same mask and your partners to give up asking what's wrong. A real man doesn't run from feeling, he takes full responsibility for it. He doesn't overshare, but he doesn't lie to himself either. He faces what's inside and asks, what is this trying to teach me? Because here's the truth. If you never speak about what wounds you, someone else will suffer from your silence. And in the end, being emotionally unavailable isn't masculinity, it's emotional immaturity dressed up in Stoic cosplay. 3. It's not my fault, the 4 words that kill your power. Few phrases strip a man of his strength faster than this. It's not my fault. At first, it sounds like a defense. But look closer, it's not a shield, it's a surrender. It's the quiet confession of a man who no longer believes he holds the pen to his own life. You'll hear it everywhere. My boss is the reason I'm stuck. My parents messed me up. The economy is broken. She left me. What was I supposed to do? These men don't realize that every time they say, it's not my fault, what they're really saying is, I have no control, I have no responsibility, I have no power. And here's what happens next. When you speak like a victim long enough, you become one, even if no one ever harmed you. Let me tell you about Leo. Mid-42nd, laid off during the pandemic, wife eventually left, gained weight, lost his drive. When asked what happened, he always said, life just hit me too hard, none of this was my fault. But in every conversation, he missed the truth. Life may not be your fault, but it's still your responsibility. You didn't cause the storm, but you're still holding the wheel. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus said, it is not events that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Translation: what happens to you isn't nearly as powerful as how you choose to see it. Marcus Aurelius echoed the same idea. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And that strength begins the moment you stop pointing fingers and start asking, what can I control? This mindset shift from blame to ownership is where real masculinity lives. Not in rage, not in revenge, but in responsibility. In saying, even if I didn't cause the mess, I'll be the one who cleans it. Blame is easy. It's lazy. It's the luxury of men who don't want to look in the mirror. Responsibility, that takes structure. That takes discipline. It demands you stand up when everything in you wants to collapse. Here's the irony. When you refuse responsibility, you may avoid guilt, but you also avoid growth. You become a passenger in your own life. And one day you'll look around, bitter and stagnant, wondering why nothing changed, never realizing you were the one waiting for someone else to drive. So next time you're tempted to say, "It's not my fault," pause. Replace it with, "It's now my responsibility." Because the man who takes ownership, even of what he didn't cause, is the man who becomes unbreakable. 4. I deserve better. The whisper of entitlement, dressed as self-respect. There's a phrase that feels like confidence, but smells like decay. You hear it in breakups, in office gossip, in men sulking over a life they never built. I deserve better. It sounds noble, like self-worth. But more often than not, it's not strength speaking, it's ego wounded by reality. Because here's the truth. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you build, what you practice, what you become day by day when no one's clapping. Men who say, "I deserve better," often haven't done the daily work of becoming better. They're not sharpening, they're not stretching. They're waiting, expecting, demanding, as if life is a vending machine and just being dissatisfied entitles you to luxury. But Stoicism rejects this mindset at its core. Marcus Aurelius didn't write, "I deserve more." He wrote, "Do not waste time wondering what a good man should be. Be one." The Stoic doesn't chase validation. He doesn't wait to be given. Better, he becomes someone for whom better things are a natural byproduct. Think of a man who keeps saying, "I deserve a loyal partner," but he lies. He hides. He refuses to communicate. He deserves exactly what he's building, distance. Or the man who says, "I deserve a better job," but shows up late, does the bare minimum, and gossips in the break room. He's not underpaid, he's over-entitled. You see, when "I deserve better" becomes your internal script, you stop looking inward. You stop asking the harder questions. Am I showing up with excellence? Am I reliable when no one's watching? Am I refining my character or just rehearsing my complaints? The Stoic flips the question from "What do I deserve?" to "What am I becoming?" Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And one of the greatest wastes is the time spent feeling owed for work never done." So next time you feel the urge to say, "I deserve better," pause. Look at your habits, your effort, your direction. Because a man of depth doesn't declare his worth, he demonstrates it. He builds value in silence. He sharpens in solitude. And when the world doesn't reward him, he keeps sharpening anyway. That's not passivity. That's purpose. 5. That's not my job, the death of leadership in disguise. There's a phrase men use to sound professional, efficient, even mature. But underneath, it often reveals something far weaker. A quiet refusal to lead. That's not my job. You'll hear it from men who show up, clock in, check the boxes, and vanish. Men who confuse compliance with contribution, presence with purpose. But a man who lives by this sentence doesn't rise, he retracts. He narrows his world to what's expected and calls it balance. But balance without effort isn't discipline, it's retreat. Let me tell you about Ryan. Blue-collar, steel worker, 30 years on the line. Never missed a shift, always on time. But at home, the same man vanished. When the dishes piled up, he'd say, "That's not my job." When his son struggled with school, "Talk to your mother." When his wife wanted emotional connection, "I provide, that's enough." And to be fair, he did provide. He worked hard, paid the bills, never cheated, never shouted. But he also never stepped forward in the places that needed him most. After 28 years, his wife left not because he was cruel, but because he was never fully there. That's what this phrase costs you. Not just opportunities, but trust, respect, intimacy. Because when you repeat, "That's not my job," what you're really saying is, I refuse to be inconvenienced by responsibility. I'll only carry the weight I'm assigned. But leadership isn't about assignments. It's about awareness. It's seeing the gap and filling it, without being asked, without being praised. Marcus Aurelius asked himself daily, "What is your vocation? To be a good man. Not a man who hides behind titles and task lists. A man who notices the unspoken need and answers it." The Stoic doesn't say, "Is this required of me?" He asks, "Is this right for me to do?" There's nothing noble about doing the bare minimum. There's no pride in saying, "Well, no one told me to." A man of character doesn't need permission to act with honor. And here's the cruel truth. The more you outsource effort, the more others learn to work around you. You become less necessary. Not because you lack value, but because you refuse to show up where it mattered. So the next time those words rise in your throat, "That's not my job," swallow them and ask instead, "What kind of man do I become when I only do what's required?" Because if you want to be respected, trusted, and remembered, do what others avoid. Carry more than your share. And lead not when it's easy, but precisely when it isn't. 6. It is what it is, the most dangerous form of emotional surrender. It sounds wise. Stoic. Detached. It is what it is. Men say it with a shrug, like they've achieved some higher form of peace. But most of the time, this phrase doesn't come from clarity. It comes from defeat. "It is what it is" has become the anthem of the emotionally tired, the mentally numb, the man who's seen too many disappointments and decided to stop expecting anything at all. And while it may sound harmless, this phrase is a slow death sentence, not of the body, but of the will. It's what you say when you've given up the fight but still want to sound composed. Let me tell you about André. In his 62nd now, once full of passion, an artist, a lover of ideas, a man who used to challenge everything. But life hit him hard. Business failed, marriage ended, friends faded. Now, he wakes up, makes his coffee, scrolls his phone. When asked how things are going, he replies with a tired smile. It is what it is. But here's the truth. That's not Stoicism. That's learned helplessness. Because true Stoicism doesn't shrug at life, it engages with it. It doesn't give up, it discerns. It doesn't accept everything, it accepts only what cannot be changed, and acts powerfully on what can. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But when a man clings to "it is what it is," he's not recognizing reality, he's avoiding effort. He's choosing comfort over conviction. He's pretending to be composed, when in truth, he's quietly collapsing. This phrase doesn't bring peace. It brings passivity. And here's the tragedy. Passivity leaks. It spreads into how you love, how you lead, how you respond. You stop fighting for what matters. You stop feeling deeply. You become less visible, not because people ignore you, but because you stopped showing up. There's a difference between calm and numbness, between Stoic acceptance and spiritual sedation. The Stoic doesn't say, "It is what it is," and walk away. He says, "This is what it is. Now, what will I do with it?" He acts not from impulse, but from stillness and strategy. He hurts, but he doesn't shut down. He loses, but never surrenders what matters most, his agency. So the next time life tests you, don't default to resignation. Don't hide behind Zen-sounding phrases that excuse your inaction. Instead, ask, what can I still control? What kind of man do I want to be right here, right now, in the face of this? Because "it is what it is" only Stoic if it's followed by "and now I respond with power." Conclusion. Speak like a man, becoming his best self. Some phrases sound ordinary, harmless even, but when repeated thousands of times, they shape you into someone you no longer recognize. And worse, you begin to accept that version as permanent. But Stoic philosophy never sees a man as fixed. It reminds you, as long as you're awake, you still have the power to change. So start with your words. The language of a Stoic man is, I'm improving. I take responsibility. I act in alignment with the values I respect. I respond. I don't retreat. And when he chooses silence, it's not to hide. It's the silence of a soul in training, not a man running away. If you've said any of the 6 phrases before, that's okay. What matters now is, are you willing to rewrite them? Drop a comment below. I choose progress over comfort. Because when you change your words, you begin to change your life.